Most athletes are winding up a career in their 30s. I mean, Nino Schurter's a bit of an exception. So what would you say if I told you there are people joining the pro circuit in their 50s? Well, I know someone. Let's go meet him. So today I'm going to speak to Paul Hopkins, who I know as Hoppy because I used to race with him in cross country. And he is a multiple national champ, multiple overall series winner in cross country. He also won the national champs in gravel last year and won the qualifier for that race. The guy has won multiple races in his age category, but is still landing on top ahead of people that are in their 20s. So let's speak to him and find out how the heck is he winning these races and how has he turned pro at the age of 53? Let's go find out.
I'm Paul Hopkins. I ride for Norita factory racing. I've just recently sold my business. Now I'm gonna do what I've always loved to do and turn pro.
Well, that's pretty cool. So how long have you been mountain biking for now?
So I've started mountain biking when I was 23 and I've always loved it. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to do it properly from the point of view of obviously always been in employment, and I've just sort of managed to do 6 hours a week, but now I'm in a position to do more, and I haven't done too bad up to this point. I want to see maybe how far I can take it at a ripe old age of 53. So when I was 23, I was very fortunate to meet Bernie Shrewsbury, who I believe you may talk to, and he sort of took me under his wing really, and he was very knowledgeable, training proper athletes and proper sports people, and he just sort of took me under his wing and gave me a few pointers about what I should be doing, because I had absolutely no idea, and yeah, he told me how to structure my training, and virtually within the first 12 months, I saw a sort of massive improvement in where I was. And yeah, I've been friends with him ever since really. And yeah, he's helped me all along the way. So I do owe a lot to Bernie.
Well, I'm Bernie Shrewsbury. Been involved in many sports most of my life and coaching as well. I look at Paul, who's 53, still national champion. I'm thinking, why does Paul at that age still have an incredible passion for it? And I think it's his love for it, the approach to it, as in like the enjoyment's there, and trains quite a bit on his own, might jump on Strava or Swift or whatever.
But yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and knowing him, I've met Formula One drivers and rally drivers. It's taken me to sort of places that I would have never dreamt that I would go.
Now the business has gone, and he was thinking, right, I can get more training, train harder. And we've just even now, he said, that could probably be my biggest mistake, because I'm speaking to athletes that have sort of dragged me out of the ditch and said, do you mind helping me? And you find out that they've been wrecked and been damaged, and psychologically more than anything, which is a very interesting factor. You've got to be mentally dialed into performing, not just physically. And that's very, very interesting through the 35 years of competing in many sports I've learned. And I think what Paul learned is that, I'm going to train harder, I'm going to rest more, but I've still got to maintain endurance, because that thing about getting older, you do lose your strength. But there's a bit of a subtlety in that. You've got to know where you're at. When you say where you know, have you done your capacity work, as they speak about? Have you done your footings? Have you dug them? Have you done 2 feet or done 6 feet, as they say? And that plays a really big part in your future.
What happened? Why not pro at 20 then?
I didn't have a sort of misspent youth. I did all my drinking and smoking like a lot of people do through their teenagerhood. And at 23, I sort of entered a mountain bike race because a friend of mine encouraged me to give it a go. And to be honest, it was the best thing I did, because I gave up smoking. I started taking it very seriously. I say seriously, still fun, but I didn't want that sort of lifestyle anymore. And thankfully, I'm 53 and still going, so it was a good life choice, really. My sort of cycling progressed quite well. My results were getting quite good, and when I got to 26, unfortunately, I fell ill, and I had a good 3 years of really having to get over an illness. And eventually, into my 30s, I sort of managed to get over it totally, and I started sort of really having a go at racing properly again. I rode for Giant for a while during my 30s, and I have actually ridden for a few manufacturers, including Scott and Saracen, and then obviously eventually Norita. So I've been lucky to, even though not be a pro elite cyclist, I've done pretty good in the sort of age group categories, and I think Norita have seen the sort of dividends through that, really, because I compete against people that have probably got the most disposable income. So from a sponsor's point of view, I think it makes a lot of sense.
So you've been with Norita for 14 years. What sort of results have you been pulling for them? Like, what have you been giving them over the last 14 years?
National-wise, I tended to do most of the national mountain bike cross-country events. I was lucky enough to win 2 of the national championships, so that was a nice thing to do in the Masters.
Lucky, Hoppy? There's no such thing as luck.
Well,
you earned that.
Yeah. And then obviously I've continued with the mountain biking, and it's been successful with Battle on the Beach and things. I've had good results there, but also the crossover to gravel racing. I've been enjoying that as well, because there's certainly benefits to be had from the sort of skill factor of mountain biking. There's definitely a good crossover, and I managed to win the national championships for gravel racing this year, so that
Nice.
was good for Norita.
You're being modest. You said you did well in Battle on the Beach. You've won it twice now. Is that right?
6 times.
6 times. Sorry. Get it right. Won that 6 times. Multiple national champion in your category. Is that right? In your age group?
Yeah.
The quicker you back off and make yourself efficient, the better you become. And that's why Paul is doing what he's doing now. And I heard about Paul before, when he said, I was lucky on the Battle of the Beach that he's won about 6 times. Lucky? I don't like luck. But Paul said, I was lucky because the last mile and a half was through the woods. And I've followed Paul on a bike, and I've crashed a lot, and I'm not useless. I'm pretty competent and confident, but Paul just knew the lines and the speed he would take. He would make that gain, which comes back to that efficiency. So he basically, the heart rate, he was working at steady state, but my God, he was flying.
That's not luck.
That's not luck.
You've now gone pro. Tell me, what's it like to be training as a pro in your 50s?
So I don't want it not to be fun anymore, just because I've had a change in lifestyle. I don't want to make what I do monotonous. So the fact that I can have more time to concentrate on certain things. I mean, I know when you get to my age, muscle mass is a problem. I've never done really any work in the gym, so now I think I need to, do some gym work.
That's really interesting, because there's a couple of things. The first thing is, someone said to me, I'm not going out with Paul Hopkins, he rides too quick. Well,
he does.
Paul rides really, really quick because he got there.
Yeah.
And his passion, his training, he got in there. He didn't, he wasn't a hairdresser 3 weeks ago. Sorry, Paul. He wasn't a hairdresser 3 weeks ago and suddenly got really fit on a bike like a personal trainer could do. Paul spent all those years, like myself, I've made a few mistakes, and wasted energy, wasted time. But if you learn to develop and grow with it and enjoy it, you will be like Paul at 53, still national champion, enjoying it. turns up to races and still has fun. And to speak to any of the viewers watching this is that, you know, you can start from anywhere, any age, and you just make yourself efficient. If you remember, just make yourself efficient, forget about numbers, just make yourself efficient, and you will jump tenfold ahead of everybody else on numbers, if that helps.
I'm very lucky to know professional people that can help me with a bit of testing and things, which hence Porsche very kindly took me into their lab and did some VO2 max testing, which is useful info because it's stuff that I've never really sort of looked at before. And I think there's just so much more to give because genuinely my time on a bike up until now has been, you know, I've tried to make it count for the time that I had available, but certainly generally it was about 6 hours a week. So if I can do 10 or 12 hours, still have it, you know, make it enjoyable, do some longer riding, do some other stuff like yoga and gym, then it's just going to be an interesting process to see if at my age it will, you know, improve me. So it's just quite an interesting project.
So any tips for viewers out there who are maybe pretty competitive but getting on a bit, thinking that maybe they need to calm down or duck out, or maybe they're even thinking about doing what you're doing and turning pro? What sort of tips have you got for them?
So firstly, it's to make your training enjoyable. I think that's the first thing, because I'm always can't wait to get out on the bike. So I never think, oh God, I've got to get changed and go out. Well, maybe if the weather's snowing or something, but you know, generally I just can't wait to get out. And I think that's just because I make my training fun. You know, having a mountain bike, a gravel bike and a road bike, and I realise everyone, you know, maybe can't have 3 bikes, but I definitely think having 3 different disciplines of cycling, keeping it varied is great, because you never really get bored of riding, whether it be road, gravel or sort of single track on the mountain bike. It just keeps it varied. So I think that's probably the number one thing.
I think that's a really good thing, because mountain biking, looking at Paul, and I know Ollie Beckinsale very well, and the skill rates, and you look at Pidcock, how efficient these guys are. I think if you get into mountain biking, I think, yeah, get out there, get on the trails and get on the flat stuff and just make yourself efficient, and then gradually introduce yourself to skilling up. And, you know, don't go out and wreck yourself and go over to wows on some of those downhill descents that you could go on. Just gradually build up your efficiency. And I think it's great if you make yourself fit, you can deal with efficiency. But if you go around the other way and you try and skill up and you're a little bit tired, you make too many errors. So for me, my advice on the mountain bike world is just make sure you're fitter so you can be more efficient on the descending.
So basically, you've got to have patience to gain skill and fitness gradually. And maybe that's why Paul's done so well, is he's had 30 years of patience to get where he is now. Hoppy, thank you so much for talking to us today. Hopefully we've inspired a few viewers to maybe give it a good bit of beans in their later years. But yeah, I would say good luck for the year, but you don't need luck because you've got the time to train.
Yes.
You're going to do well. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
I've learned a lot from these two today, namely, it's never too late to chase your dreams, as cliche as it sounds, but also it's never too late to get good at bikes, and maybe in some cases it's better to leave it till later. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. What do you think of Hoppy's story? Has this inspired you to go out and go pro at a later age? Maybe. Anyway, let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching.